So this is a really quick video just to go over something that we've discovered. Someone from my community, Nimbus CEO of Virginity, what a fucking name by the way, for Springtrap and a new quote-unquote tech that we have kind of discovered a little bit. It's still in the early phases and we're still testing it out to see necessarily how good it is, but I do want to make a video very quickly demonstrating what it is and how it might potentially be a good way to play Springtrap in certain situations. So, as many of you know, when Springtrap comes out of a door or is using a door, it has a glitching effect that basically tells the survivors he is coming out of that door. This allows the survivors to pre-run the door and basically get a lot of distance from him. It's often why some Springtrap players will tell you not to go straight to the door where the gen you want to is, but go to the adjacent door and use the undetectability you have for 20 seconds to get to it. However, there is a mechanic Springtrap has that people often forget where you can throw your axe at the door to disable it. This means the survivors can't use the camera, which means they can't teleport, but Springtrap can still use the door. But it also glitches out the panel that shows the glitching effect. So what this means is that if you throw your axe at a door and then go to another door, come back through the door, the survivors don't get the notification that you're coming. Now, they will still obviously see you coming out. So if they're paying attention even slightly, they will start running the moment you actually exit the door once it opens. But this gives you those extra few seconds that they can't just pre-run you. So I'm going to show some examples of it right now, and then we can talk about it a little bit afterwards. So when you throw an axe into a door, not only can the survivors not use this door, not only does it deactivate the camera, it also makes that happen right there. This lingers when you pull the axe back. I need to see how long that lingers for. Yeah. So in theory, here's what you want to do. Let's say this gen was like let's say this gen was like, I don't know, 80% or something, and you know the survivors are going to come back to it. You kick it and don't take the door away. You throw your axe into the door. You walk away to, let's say, this door over... What door was that, by the way? Door 6? Okay. You walk away to, like, door 3 over here, right? Recall your axe. Then go into the door. It should still remain glitchy. And it does. If I leave the axe in the door, and now I come through, the axe doesn't get recalled, and it's still glitchy. They have no idea. So it also leads to some mind gaming because, okay, I leave the axe in the door, and then the next time I do it, then I recall it. Then the next time I do it, I leave the axe in. The next time I just recall it to recall it and make them think I'm going to go through. So if that's the case, and if you run it with menu, I mean, like, for example, like 3 here, like, let's say there's no survivors on this gen, I just know it's being worked on. It's like, okay, I'm walking up to the gen, throw that into the door, kick this, alright, well, I'm gonna walk away now. Alright, cool, I'm gonna leave my axe there. I still don't see any survivors. Still don't see any survivors. Still don't see any survivors. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go back to that gen now, because I haven't found anyone. They're probably working on it again. And then you come back, and they, even if they can see the door, they don't know, because it's still glitched out. Okay. Alright, throw the axe into this one. Okay, and then go over there. Or, well, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter what door you go into. Nope. Nope. Okay, do it again, but this time recall the axe before you go through the door. Nope. I had no idea. Yep, C6. Is she going to pre-run it? No. Yeah, I'm going to fully limit test at this match. Does she know I'm coming back through, though? There's a hook right here. And then I can head back to 3 over there? My axe is still in there. So... yeah, we head back over to 3. You can't tell me! You cannot tell me that didn't work! So, what does this mean and how can it, like, realistically be used on Springtrap? I'm not going to say that this is, like, some new meta and every Springtrap should do it all the time. But what I'm saying is that there will be certain situations on some maps, RPDs outside Gen, the main building gens on a lot of maps. Any map where the door is specifically aimed at a gen that is in a centralized area or a very important gen to keep locked down, this can be very, very useful to stop pre-runs. Now, the general idea of how you want to do this is come up to the gen, throw your axe at the door, walk away. Do not go into the door. If you go into the door, the axe will come with you. And then you want to then run something like surveillance, call a brine, even an add-on that Springtrap has called Bonnie's Guitar Strings that everyone is well aware of that tells you the progress of gens. And then once you are aware the survivors are back on the generator, then you go into a door and harass them off of it from there. Now, this is a very hit-and-run playstyle, but if you're going around the map and you can't happen to find somebody for whatever reason, and you have the downtime, this can be a very good strategy to do this. Now, some of you might be saying, well, Springtrap, will, if he keeps doing this, the survivors will anticipate it, and if there's an axe in the door, they will just leave. This is true, but there's a few things with this. When you recall your axe, the door stays glitched for about 10 seconds. I say about because DVD times are weird, but it stays glitched for about 10 seconds. Teleport takes 3 seconds on top of the 1 second of getting in. So you have about a 5-second leeway once you recall it. This can lead to some mind games, so you can recall your axe, then go through the door, then teleport, and the survivors won't even know because the glitch effect is still happening. On top of that, if you really want to get cheeky with it, you can combo this with Iridescent Coin. Now, typically, Iridescent Coin is comboed with Access Panel to throw your terror radius to the other side of the map. But what it can do with this is something I really like about Iridescent Coin that doesn't get talked about nearly as much, which is masking your sound. When your terror radius is on the survivor for that close, often it will mask a lot of sounds. This includes the door opening. Even if this is on a door that is out of sight from the generator so the survivor can't see the panel anyways, this can also be good for that. It also can trick the survivors a little later into the match to kind of misunderstanding what the terror radius actually means later on. Now, I don't have the best examples of this. When I was doing this on stream, I was trying my hardest to get as many good examples as I could. The problem is assessing whether or not it was actually working. Because while I do think it was working, the thing is, I would have to find a survivor that was on a generator. I would have to vet the survivor and see if they were pre-running me before, then throw the axe into the gen, then they have to come back to the gen, then I have to teleport back to it while the axe is in it, and then I have to see if it's the same survivor to make sure. However, what I will say is when I was doing this, I was noticing a lot less pre-running. And you could argue this is because the survivors were worse, because the survivors didn't know, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of arguments here. But this video is actually kind of like a call-out thing to other Springtrap players to test this and see what you can do with it. I was running it with Mindbreaker as well, especially after the bug fix, and it was already a good perk on Springtrap, but you can do this to stop sprint bursting away once you come out of the door anyways, or preventing life and things like that. You can even use it with things like nowhere to hide, so once you kick the gen, you know if someone's nearby, so you walk away to maybe get a sneak attack on them later. You can use it with oppression like I was, so you kick multiple gens. Surveillance, so you know when they get back on the gen. There's a lot of different factors you can do with this. Dragon's Grip, while I don't recommend it because of the scream and the expose makes them run away, it's still an obvious thing you can combo with this. Now again, I don't think this is going to be some super impressive new thing, but it is definitely a trick that Springtrap can add to his playbook. And other Springtrap players could probably use it in different ways than I have, and probably better ways than I have. As always, whenever we're doing stuff like this, it should be noted that once it is known about, it is completely different than while it's being unknown, but the survivors get no tell, and unless they're in a SWIF, they have no way of necessarily knowing exactly where you are. And if you do this correctly, it might encourage people to use the cameras more often to actually figure out your location, to know if you're going in a door as is. Now, do I think this was intended by the devs? No, I honestly don't, but it definitely seems like it was something they were thinking about for the glitch effect. While I do think that Springtrap shouldn't give as much information to the survivors that he's coming, I do think the fact that he gives away that he's coming through a door the entire time he's teleporting. But this could be a way to circumvent that. So, as always, I found this. I wanted to make a quick video on it. I didn't want to make it a weekly one because there's not nearly enough. I'm going to keep testing this on stream. Be sure to come by to those for stuff like that. But I love you guys as always. Have a good one. And yeah.